if our new commandment from Jesus is to love one another, and by loving one another, people can know that we are his disciples, and hating people puts us in the same category as a murderer without eternal life, what does Jesus mean by telling us we need to hate other people and also hate ourselves? I'm a Chiefs fan. Now, by that, I want you to understand. Let me define this a little bit. I enjoy watching them play most of the time. Okay, this season, it's been a little bit hard to watch. All right, they're winning, but man, winning by blocking a field goal, really? It's pretty tense. I will always root for them over their opponent. That's the kind of fan that I am. In my lifetime, I've actually attended probably 4 or 5 Chiefs games as a guest of someone else, as a guest of a friend. Personally, I'm not ever planning on traveling to Arrowhead Stadium and spending hundreds of dollars on parking, tickets, and a snack just so I can watch the game. I prefer to be in my living room. If the temperatures ever dip below 0 and the game is on, even if you offered me a free ticket, I won't be there. I didn't attend the Super Bowl parade last year in Kansas City. If they win again this year, I'm hoping, I'm a fan, I'm still not going to attend the parade. Unless, of course, Patrick Mahomes invites me personally. I might come. Okay, Pat, I'll be there kind of a thing. But you're never going to see me ever at the stadium in the crowd with red makeup on, or wearing some kind of mask or some kind of costume, or taking my shirt off with a letter printed on my chest. I'm sorry if that makes you a little sick to think about that. And this is because I am a casual Chiefs fan. And you and I both know there are Chiefs fans and there are Chief fanatics. The fanatic will spend time and money and great effort in order to somehow be part of the game. And there is a huge difference between a fan and a fanatic, a follower. On the surface, I mean, if we're just here at church or we're just walking around downtown or whatever, it's really hard to tell the difference between the two. We both might be wearing a Chiefs sweatshirt. But the fanatic, the follower of the Chiefs, is someone whose life is actually affected by, influenced by, maybe even ruled by what they follow or who they express allegiance to. Luke chapter 14. Jesus has performed many miracles. I mean, healed lots and lots of people. He has confronted the religious leaders of his day. He exposed their hypocrisy. The people were excited about Jesus by the time Luke 14 rolls around. It's his third and final year of ministry. People were so excited about what he had done, many of people were following him because of all this excitement, or because of maybe being a fan, they could get something from Jesus. Jesus is quite literally weeks from his crucifixion here. From this point in time, he will travel through a few towns in Galilee on a very, very short tour, and then he will head directly to Jerusalem to give himself as a sacrifice. Now, the disciples at this point are really kind of excited about all of the crowds. Now, they didn't understand exactly what was coming. They still got in their minds that Jesus was going to be setting up some kind of earthly kingdom here. And so, you got to have the crowds to make all of that possible, right? I assume that the disciples would have been really, really confused about Jesus and what he says in Luke chapter 14, where it says in verse 25, large crowds were traveling with Jesus. Turning to the crowds, he said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, Such a person cannot be my disciple, and whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. This is not how you win friends and influence people. Does Jesus really want us to hate somebody? Hate our families? It's obvious that Jesus is exaggerating here. Otherwise, he'd be asking us to break the fifth commandment. He would be asking us to break a bunch of other commandments, as well as what was the new commandment Jesus gave us? John chapter 13. Jesus says, a new commandment I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you're my disciples if you love one another. So to hate anyone goes against Jesus' command. To hate anyone is not how God expects or wants us to live. Matter of fact, 1 John tells us this: anyone who hates a brother or sister is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life residing in him. If our new commandment from Jesus is to love one another, and by loving one another, people can know that we are his disciples, and hating people puts us in the same category as a murderer without eternal life, what does Jesus mean by telling us we need to hate other people and also hate ourselves? One writer said it this way: he, Jesus, asks us to love him, abide in him, and let no family ties or personal interests interfere with or even compare with our devotion to him. Back in the 1800s, there was a really, really famous opera singer. Her name was Jenny Lind. She was from Sweden. She traveled the world. When she was in her early 20s, still in Sweden, the king of Sweden invited her to sing at this great, huge banquet. Okay, well, all the royalty were invited. It was this big, huge thing. And he got a personal invitation from the king to come and sing at the banquet. She refused, because the banquet was going to be held on Sunday. And she considered Sunday to be the Sabbath and a day of worship, not of work. The king of Sweden personally went to Jenny Lind and asked her to perform. Her reply: there is a higher king, your majesty. I owe my first allegiance to him. This is the understanding that we all need to have. God deserves our highest allegiance. No one, nothing comes before him. Jesus was speaking to these large crowds who were following him, and it was using a kind of language to help them understand the difference between the casual fan who watches on TV or just follows along and what it is to be a fanatic follower.